Hey, welcome back, everybody, to creating scenery with Microsoft Flight Sim for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I always do that using free resources. Now, I've talked about it in the past in previous videos on one of the resources, and one of the resources that I like to use is Krita, Krita. Krita is a open source version of Photoshop. Okay, it's almost a clone. There might be some tools that it doesn't have that Photoshop has, but for most of the time, for creating graphics and stuff for MSFS 2020, it does great. But the best thing, it's free. Now, a lot of you guys probably use Photoshop and you probably use GIMP or something like that, but here's another option for you. So if you go to Krita.org and download it, it has a small footprint. But anyway, I'm going to give you a basic, just show you a quick and dirty use of the software. But anyway, you'll find a link in the description of the video to Krita. All right, so here I'm in Blender. I'm working on a fire station for Toledo Express, Eugene F. Kranz Airport. I'm going through all my airports that I have put up a version 1, and I'm making some enhancements to them and adding stuff. So anyway, I'm working on Toledo Express, and here's the fire station. And outside of the fire station back door, there's a sign that says Toledo Express Police Department. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that sign in Krita. All right, first I made a simple plane, applied a solidify modifier to it to give it a little bit of thickness, and then I selected the outside face and saved that as a separate object called police sign face. So I have police sign, which is the thickness part, and then I extracted out the front face for the actual sign itself. All right. Now I go into UV editor. Now I've already done the UV editing and all that kind of stuff, but I'll just kind of explain it. So you go into UV editor, and I have the face selected, and I went into UV, Smart UV Project, and then I always turn off stretch to the boundaries because I want it to be the correct aspect. And then I hit OK. Okay? And that creates the UV unwrap surface for, oh, there's an earthquake. Not here, but my phone told me there was somewhere in the world. I'll look at it later. Sorry, I digress. But anyway, I create an image that has the boundary of that sign face. The next thing I do is I export this out. So you come up to UV and export UV layout, and that brings up this dialog box. Then I navigate to where I want to save this PNG. Okay, and in my case I actually go into the textures directory for my project, and I give it a name, which it already gives a name, but you can call it anything that you want, and I save it out as a PNG. So here's police sign face.png. Now I've already done that, so but I would click, oh, sorry, and you give the resolution or the image size that you want. And here I'm doing a 4K sign, so 4096 by 4096, and then you click Export UV Layout. And basically what that gives you is, now I'm going to open up Krita. Actually, I already have Krita open up. So I want to open up a file. So I open and I navigate to where I have my project textures. Now these are not, that texture directory you just saw here is my depository for all of my textures, but I want the actual project that I'm actually working on, and that happens to be Toledo Express, and I'm working on my version 2, and this is part of the buildings. So I go to package sources, go to the model lib directory, and go to my texture directory, and right here you'll see police sign face.png, and that is the PNG that we just saved out of Blender from the UV editing session. So I open that, and that opens up that oops, I didn't select it. That opens up that PNG from what we just created. I'm going to pause, catch my breath. Now what you'll notice that it comes in as kind of a ghost image, which is fine. Now, and it also brings it in as a background layer. All right, I only use that as a reference. I do not make any edits to the background, because what I'm going to do is when I get to when I re-export this out as a new PNG, I turn that background off, so everything is transparent other than the new stuff that I create. All right, so let's turn that on so I know where my box is. Sorry if I have a little sniffling. I got allergies. Okay, so I need to put a disclaimer in this. When I exported it out, I can't remember the orientation that the UV unwrap does, so this might be upside down when I bring it in. So, but let's just hope that I every time I have a 50-50 chance of getting something right, I always get it wrong. But if my chances were 90% getting it wrong and 10% getting it right, I'd get it right. Go figure. But anyway, so we're going to create a new layer. So you come up here to Layer, New, Paint Layer, and you'll notice over here, just like GIMP, Photoshop, you get a new layer. And so what I'm going to call this is, let's see, text 1. All right, just for grins. All right. Now we're going to add. It says the first line on that sign says Toledo Express Airport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the text tool, and I'm going to make a box. And what that's going to do is going to open up a new window with the text parameters. Okay. And my text is black on that first line. And you can go through and you can pick whichever font that you want. Just a regular Windows font. I'll choose this Lemon Milk Bold that I downloaded from I can't remember. I'll find the site that I got this font. I mean, there's free fonts out there that you can download, and that's the one I want. Anyway, I'll find the link to where I get my fonts, and I'll put them in the descriptions of the video. Then you just install those into your Windows font directory, and you have them available in Blender or whatever program that you're using, in this case Krita. Anyway, I digress again. All right, so I have my text, highlight my text, and let's see if I can type around my microphone. All right, so we're going to type in Toledo Express Airport. Okay. And then we're going to change the size, make it 20. I can't remember how big it's going to appear on the screen yet. And we'll save and then close. And yeah, that's pretty darn small. So we can increase the size by going to the text tool, double click on our text, highlight our text, and let's go to 72 twips. 72 twips is actually 1-inch text, by the way. All right, well, let's save that, close. Yeah, so that could be bigger, but there's another way to make your font bigger. All right, so in Krita. So let's start out with this 72 twip text, and with that layer selected, I'm going to transform that layer, and I'm just going to grab that text like that, just stretch it out kind of like that. All right, now I'm going to add a new layer. Let's go back into edit mode here by hitting the arrow, and I'm going to go to layer, new, paint layer. And the reason I want to create a paint layer so the next text that I add doesn't add it into the existing layer, because then you have goofy things going on. All right, and then go to our text tool, make a new box. All right, and down here it's in red actually. And we're going to kind of go to a darker text. It'll show up, and change our font, and we'll leave the size the same, except here we're going to do police department, because that's what it looks like on the sign. And we're going to save that and close that. Then we're going to go to our transform layer tool, and we're going to drag that out, and we're going to put that right like this. Now I believe the sign, and we can use this move tool, and we can move that text up a little bit. Now it's hard to see the sign from the prototype photo that I'm looking at, but it looks like it's red letters with a black shadow to it. All right, I'm going to show you how to do a shadow. All right, so we have, let's rename this vector layer, which is the police department, to police red. Hit enter. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to right click that layer, and we're going to duplicate it. So now we have copy of police red. Now I want copy of police red to be below my police red, because this is going to be, we're going to rename this right away here. So we're going to backspace over this and backspace over red and make that say black. Hit enter. And we are going to take this layer and we're going to put it below our red. Okay? And then we're going to use our move tool. Since this layer is selected, we're going to take our move tool and we're going to move that new layer down and to the right. And then we're going to use our text tool, double click that since that's the layer we're on, and we're going to change that text to black and save and close. So now you see we have red lettering with kind of a black shadow behind it. Okay, now the next, I want to create a new layer because we have one more piece of text put in there. So we're going to go Layer, New, Paint, and see that automatically shows up under or above the current layer that you're working on. So we're going to move that up one, and we're going to call this one Number. Okay. And we are going to use our text tool. We're going to select here, and we're going to change our text color to red again. And we are just going to put, I don't know what the phone number was, I couldn't read it. So I'm just going to put 911, and we'll make it bold and look like this. So obviously, if you're going to make an accurate sign, you get a good photo of what the sign actually really says, right? Alright, so then I'm going to go to my transform tool, and I'm going to make that number bigger. We're going to, whoops, I want to Control Z that for undo, and go to my move, and that looks good right there. Alright, so we have our sign made. The next step is to re-export this out as our PNG. Okay, and how you do that is, now I'm going to do two things. I'm going to come to File, and I'm going to do a save. And what that is going, I'm going to cancel that, sorry. I'm going to come up and do a File, Save As, because we brought in we brought in a PNG, okay? But I want to save as, so I'm going to come back over here to my Toledo Express main project folder where I have both my airport and my buildings, and I'm going to save this as a KRA file or a Krita file. And the reason I do that is if I need to make any edits, it's easier to edit your Krita file than it is the PNG file. Alright, so I'm going to save this as police sign face .kra. That creates the Krita file. Save. So now if I need to make changes to this, like rotate text or whatever it is, then I can come in and all my layers are separate, so I can edit my project, just like Photoshop and GIMP. Okay, but when I want to create my sign, I'm going to export this out as a PNG. All right. Now, before I export, I'm going to come to my layers and I'm going to turn off my background so I don't get that line around the edge of my sign. And I have the gray and white checkerboard behind, so that means that that's transparent. So I'm going to come up to File, I'm going to Export, and now I'm going to go back into Buildings to Package Sources, my model lib directory. If you have noticed, I renamed the model lib to KTOL-models. That way it doesn't interfere with other projects. I go into Texture and I select PNG, and I'm going to find that original police sign PNG, and I'm going to save. It's going to say, do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. And so I replace it, and then I export. And then I can minimize my Krita just in case I have to come back into it. Okay, now we're back into Blender. I'm in the UV editing. I haven't changed anything yet. I just left it the way it was when I went into Krita. And the next step is we're going to UV wrap that new image that we just created to our project. Okay, and so how you do that is we need to create a new material, and we'll call this police. Oops, police. We'll just call it police. I'll know what it is when I see it. Okay, and how much you want to bet I get that my sign's going to be upside down? Like I said, 50-50 chance of getting that right. All right, and I come down to my MSFS material parameters, and I go to standard, MSFS standard, and for the image that I want, I open, and I migrate to where I have that texture, which would be my package sources model lib texture directory, and I find the police sign PNG, open the image. I didn't get it upside down. Yeah. All right. So it brings in the image that we just created. But notice that it's black, has a black background, because transparent comes in black when you first bring it into Blender. So what you need to do is you need to come down here to alpha mode, change opaque to blend. And then your sign comes in the way that you designed it, at least you hope. All right. So with that, we'll go into layout and see what it looks like. So now we have our police department sign on our building. And then you'll want to save your project. All right. So that's it. It's not a great tutorial of how to use Krita, but I give you some ideas. There's tons of videos out there of people doing videos on Krita, but Krita's free. Just another one of those free resources that I want you guys to try to use so you can minimize your cost of your hobby. Hey, if you found this useful, or if you have any tricks of using Krita, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Please subscribe, share this video with your colleagues, and hey, have a great day, and I thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. See you guys later.